Oh, it's me again, Mr. Midshipman, and it's October 25th, and that's ice in the water here inside my Catalina 25, so I'm going to have to close it down, close it up, but let's check that garbage drain out. It did rain. See, I've been smoothing everything out. This was like a really mess. I must have filled in about 1,000 holes. This is where the Genoa track runs along here, and then here's the break in the Genoa track. See? So you can see this water was froze this morning. So I need a break, run it right out there. And one of these sponges is the best for cleaning the boat bilge out. So it's better to get it out before it freezes. It don't really matter, I guess. If it freezes, you can just break it out. But it's cold, that's why I'm wearing a rubber glove. And this is my shore power, which I don't really think you need anymore with the LED lights and stuff the way they are today. You only need that if you got air conditioning, really. Air conditioning still uses a lot of electric. Because I got the pop top, I get ventilation all the way around. And we filled in this gauge, which was the compass. We filled in this gauge, which was now the, they got better gauges. You just push a button like on one of those calculator watches and it does it all, you know. This was for the depth sounder, and this one was for the speedo transducers. And down in here, see that? That's where the, right there, that's where the cable goes down for winching up the swing keel, and then this is the tunnel for the swing keel. And now we're going to get to the garbers. It did rain. We don't know why this here is lower. This is the galley sink right here, and there's where this faucet is, and then had one of those pump style wands by Whale, and it broke. The whole thing, it's like a big white plastic thing. The pump handle broke off, and believe it or not, they're like $110 too. I don't know why they're so expensive, so I'm just going to use a what's called an on-demand 12-volt electric pump, right? That's like self-priming to 4 feet, and I'm going to run it right off the 17-gallon water tank. Heck yeah! And then anytime you turn the faucet, you don't have to pump. You turn the faucet and it's on demand. It senses the lack of pressure and then it automatically starts pumping. What a way to go, huh? So right here the water settles because you can see the way it's dipped like that. So I don't know. I'm thinking of just drilling a hole and letting this water drain out into the bilge. Don't understand that. And then here, okay, this is a sea caulk for the drain here, for the sink, right? But I don't understand why it would be there. You know, the water's not going to go in it. It's no different than you sticking a hose in your bathtub 4 feet and expecting it to go in your bathtub 4 feet. You know, it's just going to sit there. In other words, this pipe, because of the water level of the ocean's about level with this line right here, that pipe actually fills right up with water to here. So when you start flushing the sink, which is right here, see, the bottom of the sink, the water doesn't really go down. Just grab this. This is it. This is the sink drain line. It's the same as an RV camper. Yeah, see that right there? That is like so small, you can't even get your little finger in there. So you know, that's the drain for in the sink right here. You know? So yeah, by the time it gets here, it's what I'm saying, the water is right here, the seawater. You only got like that much to pressurize the line to pump it out into the sea. So if you get anything like just the smallest thing in there, it's not going to go out in the sea. So when I got the boat, they were all disconnected too, because they don't work. The guy didn't know what they were doing when they put them in. I see everybody else does that on here, except me. I'm not allowed to do that, right? So anyway, the right over here that's right there, the speedometer transducer. Right over here you get a tank, an optional You either get the porta potty, which goes right there, see, and then there's like a piece of wood that comes out here, so the porta potty sits there, or without that piece of wood, you can just put a Jobsco toilet right there, which are really the world's best, most famous, and the most sold toilets in the world. And then you can run it over into here. So I'm going to build my own tank this winter out of fiberglass inside in my garage while I'm not like able to come out here. So I'll be able to build a nice tank here, and I'll be able to patch that up. So we'll build the tank out to about here, which I believe is about 30 inches I measured, and we'll just make some forms for this out of cardboard, you know, so you get this nice arch. Perfect when you cut the two pieces out of this Luan, it's called. It's like $9 a 4x8 sheet at Lowe's. And yeah, then I'll just glue it all together, and that'll be my form, and then I'll stick that stuff called vacuum bagging over top of it, and then it won't stick. Yep, so let's go up through. See, now because of the swing keel, swings up inside this thing like that by cranking it up with this winch back here, see? Yep. Anyway, let's go back to that winch. That's how I know where the water table is, because on here, say there's like a radiator hose that comes up to about here. And if you don't, it's open, you know, right here. You can see the ocean down there, and you know exactly how far the water table is. It's pressurizing. So if they couldn't figure, by just looking at that, they couldn't figure out that this isn't going to work through this little tiny hose. It's ridiculous. So yeah, this is like the swing keel. Notice how it divides the garber in the hull of the ship. So I only put the garber over here, and this side stayed completely dry. Alright, and here's this patch job I fixed on this side. Remember where I dug it out of the side? Yeah, right here's where I started. I actually cut right here when you saw that video last made. I had to cut here again, and here again, and here again, and here again. I mean, it was all hollow in there. So I got it all the way down. Then I wrapped it with a layer of roving, a layer of this 10-ounce military cloth, a layer of roving, a layer of military cloth, a layer of roving, a layer of military cloth, and then I put right on top of that, I think, 3 more layers of military cloth. That's why it's nice and smooth now. It's not like this at the factory with just the roving exposed. So this is another thing. See right here how this trough is here? I kind of like right here I mixed up some mill fiber, because when I was going here I already did the floor here, but you can see, and I put some white pigment in it just for the heck of it, just experiment. And when I mixed that up with the 1/4 inch and the 1/32 milled fiber, I actually chipped this stuff, this polyester stuff, out even farther, deeper. So I have no idea really what's holding this keel. I mean, it must be ready just to drop out in the ocean on this swing keel. It's crazy. So yeah, I want to fill this all in, because what's happening is, after I completely did all this patching with real epoxy. Now let me show you a minute first before you start. Like, everybody else is allowed to do it but me, isn't that amazing? Okay, this is why you don't want polyester. It's okay for like nitrostain, for something like that. It's probably better than nitrostain, yeah, because for a boat it's okay. In other words, a glazing compound, but to put big hunks of it like this on this forehatch like this, you can see they built the sides of the forehatch. There's a gasket that goes between these 2 slots here, right? And also the gasket now from Catalina Direct is far superior than the old one. It's stiff and cracks, where this is more spongy than the new one. You can see they built this up here with real fiberglass, because when you get out, you put your hands on the sides, right? Not on the 4 1/2 part of the hatch. Where here on the 4 1/2, they use this stuff, and it just busted all out. So I'm trying to build it up. You can see, but I'm going to have to put clay in there, right along there, and then build it up to that, and then run a a machine down through there like a router and cut it out again. See here, I built it up with cloth even, instead of polyester. You can see where I tore the polyester out, that blue stuff. That's really crap. If you can't see that, how easy it just busts out. You just break it out with your hand. Look at that stuff. Has no strength whatsoever. It scares the living death out of me. You know, that anybody'd stick that in a boat. Yeah, and here they put this, you know, one of those solar, solar things. What do they call that? Solar fan in there. Right here. And then you can't lay on the deck of the boat and put your back up against it because it's a big, huge thing. It's jabbing you right in the back, so that had to go too. And all these little spots they made that by putting like a burlap over there, which I've seen it. You can get it from that fiberglass.com, and you'll see you can buy it in plastic, and then you just put that over while it's sticky, and you'll get this rough texture. But I found out something even better. Glass beads, you know, like what they use for glass beading parts on a machining parts, you know, same thing. There's different size glass beads from fine to coarse. You just mix glass beads in with your paint when you put it on. It's far better. And yeah, right here is another thing. I took something else that they never use, a belt sander. I never seen them use a belt sander. I literally tore this whole side off, the whole side there, with a belt sander in about an hour. Completely. I almost had like, geez, a whole soapbox full of this stuff. So yeah, see how you understand what I'm saying now? I'll cut like strips of like, on this side actually it's 1/2-inch plywood by 8 inches wide. And then I'll run some countersunk number 8 bolts up along here, stainless steel. So they'll be countersunk and I can cover them with that artificial teak. And plus I'll fill in all the cracks when I'm done, you know, ferret in and glue it with epoxy. And then see, then this piece right here, this whole sheet will stick right on here. And here's my Garber drain plug, right? See what I mean? This piece will stick out far enough to hold that from falling down. So right here, see, there's enough room to stick my hand under there to get a wrench, even though this is down real far. Yep, so you'll see, pull this out, exactly where the Garber drain is, see? It's right there is where that is. And right there. So yeah, see what I mean? You can just reach under there and put the Garber in. Even though right here is a stringer. If you wanted the stringers, you can see the darkness of it right there. See? And then over here's the other stringer. So you have this much room to get your hand down in there to reach the Garber. There, now you understand. And these little things, don't ever try epoxying over them, these little stringers. They cause the, you get voids in between them, especially with the roving. They all got to be like buffed down. And now this epoxy is hardened so much, you have to take this gloss off too with that sander. Yep, you have to sand. No doubt about it. Like right here, how I got this old gloss. Oh my God, you know, must think that that's a gel coat, wouldn't you? Of course it's not gel coat, it's not polyester, it's real epoxy, 2-part epoxy. Oh geez, how come everybody else is allowed to say that but me? Why is that? Somebody explain that. What is that? What is their problem anyway? So, here we are again back here, and this is really an issue with these Catalinas. For one thing, the water it collects in there forever. Probably been sitting there for 30 years, and like my fingers are like the water droplets, it's migrating up inside this matting. See, and you can't use matting with epoxy. You can only use it with polyester. That's how I know this is polyester. Maybe some epoxy. I know they used it on that one spot where they forgot what they were doing. But isn't this amazing? This access hatch is off center here. You know, because there's also a like one of those canals on this side too. But you see, I can fill it in, which I did. I filled them both in. They came up here. Do you remember this catastrophe up here? You know, where I told you I had to cut that out? Look at that. It's all nice. It's not like this. Look how the roving job is. It doesn't even meet. I would have took that roving and ran it up the side of this tunnel at least. Then you wouldn't have had this big trough. And not only that, that trough is filled with like solid polyester. There's no fillers like, milled fiber at all to bond it. So it can chisel right out easily, deeper than it already is. And you can see that's where the water collects. It's the nastiest thing. It's almost like it's collecting there, and then it'll freeze in the winter and separate the swing keel from the rest of the boat. It's nasty. So, yeah. Over here again, we're coming, and I'm the only one that put the garbage drain in my boat. If you were really smart, you wouldn't even need me to tell you this, but geez, you might as well put one on this side, because you know the water has got to go up around here on this side, you know. It fills up because it can't get through here, you know. This is high, about probably 8-9 inches high. Yeah, you can't, water won't go through there and go over here. So it's got to migrate all the way up in the front, where it's taking, you know, like a bow of a boat. It's going uphill right here. And right here, see, this is where the mast step is I cut out. So it's got to go all the way up in front of here. See? Before it can come around down here and direct itself into this. The garbage drain. But I'm telling you, isn't this side dry? Boy, it really did work. You'll see none of these boats sitting up on sailboat jacks are dry, and then all this stuff freezes inside, and then it gets between the two laminates and all, migrates between the two of them, just thin bits, and when it freezes between them, it really starts to separate. You must have seen that, like in all sorts of buildings and stuff, where ice freezes and expands it and ruins the product. So what I've done, to even cheat more, I got this stainless steel pipe, see, which is only 3/4, and I'll put that right there, and I'll epoxy that in, so that way the water won't have to migrate all the way uphill to here. It can make a shortcut right through here underneath the mast step, which believe it or not, I didn't notice that on camera, but yeah, I only need it about that long, so I need to cut that much more off. Yeah, then it will go right in that hole and out this hole, and then right back to the garbage drain. So yeah, I didn't see anybody show you how to put a garbage drain in. It's really sad, isn't it, that they rely on those bilge pump switches. They're probably going to freeze anyway. They get ice between them. They're on a ball float. Yep, and then they won't rise. And then they got a frozen whole thing, and then it comes again and rains. I've seen these boats already with water all the way. See this? There's nowhere for the water to get out. All the way up here to the companion, the bottom of the companionway, right here. Yeah, everything inside's ruined. Everything. The cushions, everything. And you can see they're putting carpet in, and it doesn't make any sense either. It's just more work, more hassle on the bottom. Yep. And that drain was supposed to go into here too. But since we're going to drill it over here, you know, 1/2 inch. Come on, man. Can't even get your finger through there, yet alone wastewater. Yeah. I'm going to stick it over here. See? Because it's really out of the way here. I don't know why they didn't stick it here. I think they have to bend over too far. That's what it is. See, now this here, you'll see, is almost level with the bottom of the cabinet. See? See what I mean? Look at that. There it is. Right there, see? So, the bottom of the cabinet goes right here. It's going to be vertical. And they had it sticking up. And what the guy did was he just bashed. He just got so mad. He just tore the whole bottom of the cabinet out. So, because there's a petcock on there and it sticks up even higher. There's no room to work there. It's just idiotic, the whole thing. And everybody else is allowed to say that but me. Isn't that funny? And then over here, you can see the roving job they did. Look at this. See, that's really pointy right there. You touch that, it'll prick you. So I'm going to tear all this roving, not tear it out, but grind it off, see? So you don't get that. See how sloppy a job they did? Yep. And also, see all this rust here? This guy actually had a chain laying in here, and this whole thing was great. So I got that rust remover stuff in the blue bottle from Home Depot, and it really scoured that stuff up, didn't it? Took that rust right off. I mean, this thing was really rusty. So that's about it. And like I said, this thing here, the water table's way up above this thing here. So for the sink to work, it makes no sense for that line to go down all the way down into the sea there, because it won't pump. Yep, and they did the same thing up here with the vanity sink. See, right over here's where the vanity sink goes. Right, they tried to pump it out this 1/2-inch hole here. So I'm going to replace that with a strainer type of that goes in that hole. Through hole it's called, a strainer through hole, brass by Perco, which aren't too bad. They're only like $50 and they're like 1 inch. And then you have to run a strainer, because you'll see the guy on the Jobco toilet, he'll say, Jobco toilet, he's complaining like, yeah, well, you can't really pump that seawater, maybe you should use fresh water. I don't know if he said that or I read it in one of these sailing magazines that I read here, see? Got a whole stacks of them. But yeah, you forget where you read that stuff. But yeah, if you use the strainer, you don't really have to worry about that. You run that up through there, put a T on it, so that way you can also use seawater to bring it about to your vanity sink and wash your hands with seawater too. Running down, leaking. So I fixed all the leaks. Working on this up here. We got to shut it down now though. So we're in good shape. Like at the boatyard, they said, you don't know when to stop. That's the difference between me and you. You know, and I says, yeah, not really. I do know when to stop. I'm done. Now I can start putting it back together. I know it was the same guy at the boatyard. See, right in here is the, I don't know, they call it the 3/4 or 1/4 aft berth. But this is where you're supposed to sleep, man. If you sleep up in that V-bow, you're going to get bounced around. You know how the front of the boat bounces in the front? He's stuck. See, this is the top where you go in. He's stuck. Like a radio here. And then on top of the radio, he stuck the stereo. And then on top of that, he stuck some switches. I swear to God, you couldn't get back here. He had it all junked up. It was his junk berth. And no way am I going to do that. I want to sleep back here. And I also noticed some guys cut this out and put a port right in here for ventilation, which I'm probably going to do too. I was going to put them on the side here, a port, but I did see a lot of these sailboats and they do heel that far over. And I don't know about those ports, whether they leak or not when they're being bombarded with water that bad, you know? Nobody really tells you. They just don't tell you. And then it's got this goofy fake leather texture on it, right? Which is really weird. See that? So I don't know if I want to sand that right down, because it's just goofy. And then these wires they used, like, they run them right up alongside here, and you can't even access them. So they're the same wires, and they use like the 50-foot rolls. So since the boat's 25 foot, they're all like just cut too short for reaching any point in the boat, and then they have to hook up another wire to it, you know. And then when they tied the two wires together, they didn't solder them. No, they just put them together with masking tape. You know, that old stuff, not the blue stuff even. Yeah. Here's one here. See how it is under here? You have to take all these hangers out like this that they got. And you can't really access them. You can't do nothing. You can't add to them. So what I'm doing, when I run my batteries, again back to the battery, when I run the battery over here, into here, and then up through here, behind everything, into my service panel, whatever you want to call it, with the breaker switches instead of the fuse, and the battery switch, because you do want to turn the battery off when you leave. Yep, I'm also going to run this stuff here again, down through here again, through the back, through here, you know. See, I gutted the whole thing, so it's easy to do now. And then I'm going to run it right here. And yeah, don't get scared now. Calm down. You can take this stuff, and you probably want to put the open end a little bit down there in case it does get any water in it. So you don't want it scooping the water up and holding it. So put the split door at the bottom. But you can get some of that caulk, like that 3M5200, and just glue it right to the side there. And it's up out of the way, out of the water, out of the bilge, and it can just run right up alongside here. See? Right up here. Right here. And then it can go right through here. See? Right through here. I'll show you. Right through here. See? And then you can glue it right to the top here, and then run it right up through the mast. Right up through the mast here, see? By gluing it to the top there, you know. And that way, anytime you got to fish more wires through or take the old ones out, and I don't know if I mentioned, those wires aren't tin coated either. Nope, nope, I didn't do it. So how come everybody else can say that, but I can't, you know? Nope, these aren't tin coated. I don't know if you can see that, but they're not. Oh yeah, here's one. See? Not tin coated. I don't know why everybody else can say that, but I'm not allowed. Like, what do I live in? Some kind of dictatorship country? Yeah? So, let's put this back.